The Sarkhan flagship Vortex Reaver hung silent above the ruined world below. Its mighty frame blotted out stars, a gleaming fortress carved from dark metal and sharp angles. Inside, cold blue lights pulsed along the warbridge walls, casting long shadows over tall, sleek figures. The Sarkhan commanders stood in a half-circle, their iridescent scales shimmering under the harsh glow of weapon displays. Their eyes, sharp and calculating, flicked over the grainy holograms hovering in the air. Images of human ships floated before them, the battered UESN Leviathan, the smaller Guardian, and the stout Colossus. "Pitiful," growled Commander Resson, his voice low and cruel. His claws tapped impatiently against the console. "Look at them. Rusted hulls, outdated weapons. They barely scrape the edge of starflight technology." Beside him, Captain Varric smiled, bearing a row of sharp teeth. "Dust scrapers built from wreckage and scrap metal. They call those ships a fleet? Laughable." A sharp chittering sound echoed from the observation deck. The Xylan observers had arrived. The Xylan were insectoid, their thin limbs twitching nervously as they studied the same images. Their compound eyes glistened with contempt. Analyst Crick stepped forward, clicking his mandibles. "They haven't advanced since their first warp engines. Primitive shields, particle cannons that barely scratch our armor." Resson nodded. "Exactly. Their defenses are barely a whisper against our railguns." The massive railguns of the Vortex Reaver thrummed softly, low hums vibrating through the hull. The commanders glanced out the viewport. Distant and small, the human ships drifted in formation, outmatched and isolated. "Those slow-moving relics," Varric spat, "won't last an hour under our fire." "Prepare the volleys," Resson ordered. "We will crush them quickly. No need for prolonged conflict." Crick's antennae twitched as he scanned the tactical maps projected before them. "Their fleet numbers are trivial. No reinforcements detected. This will be a swift victory for the Sarkhan and our Xylan allies." Resson's gaze hardened. "Good. I want them broken before they can even mount a defense." The hologram shifted, zooming in on the smallest human ship, the Guardian. Even from here, its battered hull showed scars from previous fights. But the Sarkhan commanders only sneered. Captain Varric leaned closer to the display. "It's laughable how they cling to these relics. They think their scraps can stand against our precision weapons?" Resson's voice was cold and certain. "Humans are slow, clumsy. They lack the discipline and technology to survive true war. We will prove that today." Crix adjusted his multi-jointed limbs. "Their mining stations and colonies are barely more than dust piles. No strategic value beyond their stubborn presence." "Exactly," Varric said. "They are a nuisance, one that ends here." The bridge thrummed with quiet confidence. The humans were trapped, a small ragtag fleet in a forgotten corner of space, surrounded by the vast might of the Sarkhan and Xylan forces. "Signal all squadrons," Resson commanded. "Engage full weapon power. Show these humans the fate of weak prey." Outside the viewport, the stars twinkled, cold and distant. The human ships drifted, unaware of the storm descending from above. Resson's voice echoed in the warbridge. "Prepare to exterminate." The Vortex Reaver's railguns hummed louder, hungry for the kill. The Sarkhan and Xylan believed this battle was already won. They were wrong. As the Sarkhan commanders studied the human fleet, a chilling message echoed from long-forgotten transmissions, ancient warnings about a species that turned scrap into unstoppable machines. Inside the Sarkhan War Council chamber, cold blue lights glowed softly against walls covered in shimmering star maps. The air buzzed with data streams and flickering holograms. Around a circular table, high-ranking Sarkhan officers gathered with sharp expressions. Commander Hallreck tapped a glowing panel. "Their fleet is small. Their ships are slow. Their weapons primitive." "This will be an easy fight." "Primitive, yes," sneered Xylan analyst Vrix, his insectoid eyes narrowing. "Humans are stuck in last century's tech. Their engines lag. Their shields crack like eggshells. They can barely defend their own worlds." Hallreck smiled coldly. Exactly. Why waste time? We crush them swiftly, then move on. Suddenly the room dimmed. An ancient hologram flickered to life in the center of the table. It showed a ghostly figure, a member of the extinct Oraxian race, long vanished from the galaxy. The hologram's voice rasped, "Beware the humans. They consume scrap and turn it into weapons of annihilation. What you dismiss as junk becomes death." The room fell silent. Vrix clicked his mandibles nervously. Old legends, superstition from a vanished race. Their warnings are useless. Another hologram sparked to life. This one, a star chart marked with countless battle sites. "These are ruins where the Oraxian fleets fell," the voice continued. "Humans fought like beasts, unpredictable, relentless, brutal." Sarkhan officer Merrick frowned. "Those were guerrilla tactics, nothing more." A dying race scared of extinction. Hallreck waved away the warnings. "We face the present, not ghosts. Our weapons are superior. Their scrap is just junk." Vrix hissed softly. "Still, I have seen reports from Xylan scouts. Humans adapt too fast. They rebuild faster than logic allows. They craft weapons from shards of wreckage. It is unsettling." Hallreck's eyes narrowed. Unsettling does not mean dangerous. We have the numbers, the firepower, the speed. This council votes to proceed. A chorus of agreeances echoed in the chamber. Outside, the holograms faded. The council's confidence returned. "Prepare the fleet," Hallreck commanded. "We end this war before it truly begins." Meanwhile, deep in the shadows of the chamber, Captain Zyra, a younger Sarkhan officer, watched the holograms with unease. "Sir," she said quietly, "I've reviewed human histories. Their greatest victories came from desperation, scrap, salvage, and ingenuity. They turned defeat into triumph by building new weapons from ruins. We must not underestimate them." Hallreck's gaze turned icy. "Your caution is noted, Zyra, but caution will not win this battle. We are gods compared to them." Zyra clenched her fists. "Gods sometimes fall." The council dismissed her words with a cold laugh. As the meeting ended, Vrix muttered to Hallreck, "Keep an eye on that scrap heap near their last station. It may hide surprises." Hallreck nodded. "And if it does, we will burn it to ashes." But deep down, that ancient warning gnawed at the edges of his certainty. Outside the War Council chamber, the stars shone cold and distant. A galaxy waited. And humans, the scrap scavengers, were ready. But while the Sarkhan and Xylan feared the old prophecies, the humans saw only opportunity, and that's where Colonel Castillo and Captain Haddad come in. Inside the battered command deck of the UESN Leviathan, flickering lights cast long shadows over scratched metal walls. The hum of failing systems filled the tight space. Crew members moved with tired steps, their faces streaked with grease and exhaustion. Colonel Diego Castillo stood tall amid the chaos. His uniform was worn, his jaw set tight, yet his eyes burned with a fierce calm. Around him, the last human fleet clung to life. "Status report," Castillo barked, voice steady despite the tension. Lieutenant Rios, the communications officer, checked her console. "Shields are holding at 40%. Engines stable but losing power in the aft thrusters. Ammunition reserves at 20%. Castillo nodded, his mind counting every thin chance. "Captain Haddad?" "How's the Guardian?" Over the comlink, Captain Leela Haddad responded from her ship. Her voice was cool, precise. "Engine checks underway. Our main cannons need recalibration, but the crew's patching the damage as fast as we can. We're ready to hold the line." "Good." Castillo's eyes shifted to the viewport. Outside, the black abyss of space stretched endlessly. The Leviathan and Guardian floated side by side, battered but unbroken. Behind them, the smaller Colossus worked on repairs, sparks flying as Captain Olamide Adebayo's team jury-rigged weapons with tools scavenged from wreckage. "Captain Adebayo's reports?" Castillo asked. "Colossus is holding, sir," the reply crackled back. "Weapon systems patched with whatever scrap we could salvage. Not ideal, but they'll punch above their weight." Castillo sighed. "That's humanity in a nutshell. We fight with what we have." Around the bridge, the crew exchanged looks. Fear was there, thin and sharp, but so was something stronger. Determination. "We're surrounded," Castillo said quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "Outgunned and outnumbered. The Sarkhan railguns will tear us apart if we stay exposed." A young ensign spoke up, voice shaking. "Sir, what do we do? We can't win like this." Castillo turned sharply. "We never win by playing their game." He walked over to the main hollow table. A rough star map showed their position near a dense cluster of derelict ships. Space junk collected over decades. Space junk collected over decades. Ghosts of forgotten battles drifted there. "Look here," Castillo said, pointing. "That junkyard is our lifeline." Captain Haddad's voice came through again, steady and clear. "We can scavenge, strip armor, take weapons, repurpose engines, build something they won't expect." A slow grin cracked Castillo's face. "Exactly. While the aliens count our losses, we build our strength from their leftovers." The crew murmured, hope sparking in tired eyes. "Colonel," Chief Engineer Ramos said, stepping forward, "we have access to scrap from old freighters, wrecked Sarkhan drones, even Xylan tech scattered in debris fields. It's rough, but we can weld, patch, and retrofit. Then get to work. Every bolt counts," Castillo ordered. In the next hours, the Leviathan's crew transformed. Welding torches sparked to life. Mechanics worked feverishly, stripping metal plates from broken ships. Engineers tested salvaged energy cores. Captain Haddad coordinated drone retrieval teams, sending small squads to gather combat droids from the junkyard. Each drone was a puzzle piece in a larger plan. "Leela," Castillo said, meeting her in the cramped command center, "we're not just fighting to survive, we're building the future of this battle." Haddad nodded. "They think we're weak because we're small and outdated. Let's show them what human scrap can do." A young technician interrupted, holding up a jury-rigged weapon. "Colonel, this pulse cannon's cobbled together from Xylan parts. It's unstable, but packs a punch." Castillo examined it, eyes sharp. "Good, we'll need every edge. If they want a quick kill, we'll give them a quick nightmare." As the fleet buzzed with renewed energy, Castillo gathered his officers. "Listen up. The Sarkhan and Xylan expect an easy fight. They think we're scraps and ruins." He paused, letting the words sink in. "But we're more than that. We're humans. We turn dust into fire, junk into juggernauts." The bridge crew straightened, ready. "Today," Castillo said, voice low but fierce, "we fight not as broken ships, but as a storm forged from scrap and steel." They'll learn to fear what they thought was worthless. Outside, the stars bore silent witness. The battered Leviathan and its ragtag fleet prepared to face the alien armada, ready to turn the tide with nothing but grit, brains, and scrap. Just as the crews settled into their routines, the calm shattered. Sarkhan warships appeared on the horizon, their weapons locking onto the fleet. "Contact!" shouted the radar officer aboard the Leviathan. Colonel Diego Castillo's eyes snapped to the glowing blips. "All hands, battle stations! They're here!" Captain Leela Haddad's voice crackled over the comm, firm and steady. Guardian engines at full power. Shields up. The vast expanse of space erupted in chaos. Alien warships, sleek and deadly, surged forward in perfect formation. Their railguns charged with blue-white energy, humming like thunder, ready to strike. "Brace for impact!" Castillo barked. The first volley hit. Explosions blossomed across the Leviathan's hull. Shield grids flickered under the assault. Alarms blared, warning lights flashing red. "Shields holding at 70%, reported the tactical officer. "But they're hammering us hard." The Guardian shuddered violently. Haddad's voice was calm but tense. "We're taking heavy hits on the port side. Damage control teams, report! Engines damaged. We're losing power," a technician yelled. Across the comm, Captain Olamide Adebayo's Colossus groaned under fire, weapons flickering offline. "We're outgunned and outnumbered," he admitted. "Retreat suggested." Castillo's jaw clenched. "Not until we find cover." The alien fleet pressed the advantage, railguns tearing through human shields like paper. The Vortex Reaver led the charge, its massive weapons dwarfing anything human engineers had built. "Look at the size of those railguns," Haddad muttered, eyes wide as she maneuvered the Guardian desperately. "They're ripping us apart." The human ships twisted and turned, evasive maneuvers to avoid annihilation. The starfield streaked past as they fell back toward the derelict junkyard nearby. "Junkyard coordinates locked," Castillo ordered. "Fall back. Use the debris for cover. Fall back. Use the debris for cover." "Well, make our stand there." The fleet limped toward the sprawling graveyard of forgotten ships, rusting hulks, broken stations, discarded weapons, space junk piled high in orbit. "Keep your distance," Castillo warned. "Don't get trapped." The alien commanders sneered through their comms channels, their voices dripping with contempt. "Pitiful humans," hissed a Sarkhan warlord. "You run like rats to your trash heap." Clicking laugh. "Your scrap will be crushed beneath our boots." Yet the humans did not falter. "Shields down to 40%, a voice called out on the Leviathan. "Hull breaches on deck 7, another shouted. "Damage control teams, seal those bulkheads, now!" The Guardian shook as a missile slammed into its engine array. Haddad gritted her teeth. "We're not giving up." The Colossus weapons flickered back online. "If we can hold them here, maybe we can buy time," Adebayo said grimly. "Time enough to make scrap sing death," Castillo murmured, eyes locked on the swirling junkyard ahead. The alien fleet closed in, confident they had the humans cornered, but within the tangled wreckage something was stirring. Member rift. And the humans were ready to fight back. "Prepare for full retreat into the junkyard," Castillo ordered. "This is where we turn the tide." The Leviathan, Guardian, and Colossus plunged into the debris field. Debris whirled around them, twisting metal, broken ships, and lost technology. Alien railguns fired blindly, but the dense junk interfered with their targeting. The humans gained precious seconds. Still, the Leviathan groaned under the strain. "Damage critical on the starboard side," the chief engineer cried out. "We won't last long out here," Castillo's voice cut through the panic. "Hold your ground. Don't give them the satisfaction of an easy kill." The Vortex Reaver screamed overhead, its massive guns blasting chunks of debris into the void. "Target the command ship," the Sarkhan warlord ordered. "End this now." A sudden explosion rocked the Leviathan again. Lights flickered, and power sagged. "Commander," Haddad shouted over the comm, "we're barely holding together." "Well, hold," Castillo said, voice low but fierce, "because we don't fight alone. The scrap-strewn junkyard might look like death, but for humans it was home turf, and they were just getting started." As the Sarkhan and Xylan fleets closed in, their weapons lighting up the dark sky, Colonel Castillo and Captain Haddad exchanged a knowing glance, ready to unveil the human secret that could turn the tide. The junkyard was a maze of twisted metal and shattered starship husks, a graveyard of lost fights and forgotten dreams. But to the humans, it was something else entirely, a forge, a battlefield workshop where scrap would breathe new life, where rust and ruin would become weapons of war. "Report," Castillo barked, his voice cutting through the roar of welding torches and the clatter of heavy tools. Captain Haddad stood near a cluster of freighters patched with alien armor plates. Her eyes gleamed with fierce determination. "We've stripped the old hulls clean. Engine cores are jury-rigged and stable. Turrets from Xylan fighters mounted and powered. Drone swarms are almost ready for deployment. Beside them, engineers hammered and welded. Blue sparks flew as human hands worked quickly, turning scrap into something new. Old cargo haulers transformed into walking tanks, broken drone chassis rebuilt into swarms of buzzing death. Alien railgun parts adapted, their power rerouted into makeshift pulse cannons. "This is no scrap heap," Castillo said, voice low but fierce. "It's a weapons factory, and we're just getting started." He strode through the chaos, nodding to crew members. His uniform was stained with grease and sweat, but his posture was proud, unbroken. Around him, the human fleet survivors hustled and planned. Their battered ships now surrounded by hulking, cobbled-together war machines. "Look at this," Haddad said, pointing to a hulking freighter refit with thick, spiked plating scavenged from Xylan hulls. "We call them Scrap Titans. No fancy design, no elegant lines, just brute force, armor, and firepower. They walk like giants and hit like meteors." Castillo grinned. "They're exactly what the Sarkhan and Xylan didn't expect. They thought we'd hide and die. Instead, we build monsters from their own wreckage." Nearby, Captain Olamide Adebayo tested the latest addition, the jury-rigged electromagnetic pulse cannon. "This baby's a beauty," he said, fingers flying over control panels. "We plucked it straight from the Xylan debris. It can fry their shields and electronics from 100,000 kilometers." "Perfect," Castillo said. "When it fires, their railguns will be nothing but useless scrap." The sounds of welding stopped for a moment as the first scrap titan rumbled to life. Its engines coughed sparks, thrumming with raw power. Slowly, it lifted off the junkyard floor, intimidating in its bulk. "Humans build from nothing," Haddad said, her voice proud. "Where others see rust, we see opportunity. Where they see ruins, we see weapons." "They don't know it yet," Castillo said, eyes narrowed. "But every piece of scrap we use carries their own failure. Every turret, every plate, every engine is a reminder we turn their waste into their destruction." A shrill alarm cut through the workshop. Sensors picked up enemy scouts probing the junkyard perimeter. "Brace yourselves," Haddad shouted. "Drones, swarm and intercept." From the shadows of wrecked vessels, dozens of tiny drones launched in a flashing cloud. They zipped through space, their repurposed sensors hunting Sarkhan probes. The enemy ships scrambled, their communications jammed and their scanners blinded. "Those little things are everywhere," a Sarkhan officer hissed over comms. "I can't keep track of them." Castillo raised a fist. "Let them come." "We have more surprises." He turned to his officers. "Prepare the scrap titans for combat. Load their hybrid weapons. Get the drone swarms ready for full strike." The humans moved like a well-oiled machine. Despite the ragtag nature of their fleet, their discipline was razor-sharp. Haddad climbed aboard the largest scrap titan, its cockpit glowing with makeshift controls. "This baby's got every weapon we could scavenge. Railguns, plasma turrets, missile launchers, and those pulse cannons." Castillo nodded. "Good. When we hit, we'll hit hard." Remember, Sarkhan and Xylan think they're facing scraps, but scrap can bite back. A deep rumble echoed through the junkyard as more scrap titans powered up. Their heavy steps shook the ground and sent clouds of debris floating in zero-G. Castillo's voice came over the comms, steady and sharp. "This isn't just survival. This is war, and humans don't lose. Not when we make scrap sing death." The alien fleets outside began to sense the change. The probes returned with frantic reports. The Sarkhan commanders frowned, their confidence wavering. "Whatever they're doing," one growled, "it's not what we expected." Castillo looked out at the dark field of metal and fire. The sun glinted off patched armor plates, reflecting like 1,000 angry stars. He smiled grimly. "Let's show them what scrap can do." As the truth about humanity's hidden strength settled over the fleet, Colonel Castillo's voice cut through the tension, steady and fierce. "They think we're just scrap. Let me show them what that really means." The command chamber was dim, lit only by flickering consoles and the cold glow of distant stars. Castillo stood alone, his silhouette sharp against the screens. His eyes burned with quiet fire. Around him, the battered crew prepared silently, their faces grim but unyielding. "Listen up, everyone," Castillo said, voice calm but full of steel. "The Sarkhan and Xylan think we're weak. They call us primitive, slow, and easy to crush. They laugh at our ships. They mock the scrap we haul. They believe we're nothing but rust and broken metal." He paused. The words echoed in the silent room like a drumbeat. "They don't understand us. They don't know what human scrap really is." Outside, the junkyard of wreckage stretched like a graveyard. Old freighters, shattered fighters, broken stations. To any other race, it was useless debris. To humans, it was a forge, a crucible for rebirth. We take their leftovers, their discarded tech, their broken dreams, and we make weapons, war machines. Titans that roar with power they never dreamed we could summon. Castillo's voice grew louder, fiercer. "You think your railguns and energy beams scare us? You think your fleets make us tremble? You're wrong. We don't have the biggest ships or the deadliest missiles, but we have something you lack, Will. Ingenuity. Fire." His gaze shifted to the viewport, where distant enemy cruisers glimmered like cold stars. The Leviathan may be battered, the Guardian may be scarred, the Colossus may be patched with more scrap than steel, but together we are unstoppable. We are the flame that burns through your arrogance. He pressed a hand to the console, voice dropping low but sharp. Xylan analysts called us dust scrapers. Sarkhan commanders called us weaklings. But here's the truth. Human scrap breathes fire, and that fire will consume you. A soft hum filled the chamber as the transmission began. Castillo's words spilled into the void, crossing enemy channels. The cold, clinical voices of the Sarkhan and Xylan faltered as the message cracked their comm lines. Colonel Castillo, Captain Leela Haddad called from the comm, her tone fierce with pride. The drones are ready. The scrap titans are armored and armed. We're standing by. Good, Castillo replied. Tell the fleet, this is more than a fight for survival. This is a warning. He turned back to the viewport, watching the alien ships tighten their formation. The Sarkhan flagship Vortex Reaver glowed ominously, its massive railguns charging. They came expecting prey, Castillo whispered to no one but the stars. They found predators. Then, steel in his voice, he shouted across the channel. Sarkhan, Xylan, hear this! We don't surrender! We don't retreat! We don't die quietly! The human crews across the fleet heard it. They felt it in their bones. The fire of humanity ignited. We will tear your ships apart with the very scraps you discarded. We will turn your weapons against you. We will make you regret ever setting foot in our space. The transmission ended. Silence filled the chamber. Then a new sound rose, the steady hum of engines powering up, the clank of welders finishing last-minute reinforcements, the sharp clicks of drones activating. Captain Haddad's voice crackled in Castillo's ear. They're ready. Let's show them what scrap really means. Castillo nodded, fists clenched. Let's burn their arrogance to ash. Outside the Leviathan, the scrap titan stirred. Hulking beasts forged from forgotten wrecks, armored with scavenged plating. Their weapons glowed with hybrid power. Swarms of drones zipped through the void like angry hornets. The humans were no longer just a fleet. They were a storm of fire and steel. And they were coming for the Sarkhan and Xylan. You thought we were nothing, Castillo said softly, but we are the spark that will light the galaxy on fire. His voice faded, replaced by the pounding heartbeat of war. The battle was about to turn. Humanity was about to rise. But as the Sarkhan and Xylan forces closed in, something inside the humans sparked, a fierce resolve that would change the battle forever. From the shattered hull of the Leviathan, Colonel Diego Castillo's voice cut through the chaos. All units, move out! Scrap Titans, advance on my mark! The scrap war machines lumbered forward, slow but unstoppable. Hulls patched together from twisted metal and alien armor plates gleamed under the distant stars. These were no ordinary ships. They were monsters born from forgotten junk, crafted with human ingenuity and sheer will. Captain Leela Haddad's voice crackled over the comms. Drone swarms launching, targeting enemy sensor arrays and weapon systems. Hundreds of tiny drones burst from the Guardian, darting like angry hornets. They swarmed Sarkhan cruisers, slipping through shields to disable weapon turrets and scramble communications. The Xylan ships, sleek and fast, tried to shake the drones but failed. The Colossus thundered next. Its jury-rigged electromagnetic pulse cannon charged, glowing with stolen Xylan tech. Firing EM pulse, Captain Olamide Adebayo announced. A massive burst of energy rippled through the enemy fleet. Sarkhan cruisers convulsed as their systems shorted out. Weapons went silent. Engines sputtered. Report, Castillo demanded, eyes scanning the tactical displays. Enemy ships losing power, Haddad replied. They're falling apart. The scrap titans surged forward. Their heavy guns, a brutal mix of human and alien weaponry, roared as they tore into the immobilized ships. Explosions blossomed like deadly flowers in the cold void. Sarkhan commanders screamed orders. Pull back! Regroup! But it was too late. The humans had seized the momentum. Castillo's voice was steady, commanding. No retreat now. Push them back to the edge of the system. The Leviathan twisted through debris fields, dodging fresh enemy fire. Crew members cheered as they saw alien ships break formation and fall back. Haddad's drones danced around a Sarkhan battleship, drilling through armor. We're in their guts now. Keep it up! A Xylan frigate tried to flank the Guardian, but a scrap titan crushed it beneath heavy cannons. The Guardian surged forward, a shadow of death among the stars. Human adaptability, it's insane, a Sarkhan officer muttered, staring at the tactical display. They turned junk into engines of destruction. The Xylan general growled. They fight like cornered beasts. We didn't expect this. Castillo's voice boomed over the fleet comms. This fight isn't over till we say it is. Remember, scrap isn't garbage. It's our weapon, our strength. The scrap titans closed in on the Vortex Reaver's escort ships, relentless and fierce. The alien fleet fractured, panic spreading like wildfire. The Sarkhan and Xylan vessels faltered and began to retreat. "Retreat! Retreat!" a Sarkhan commander shouted, voice cracking with fear. But the humans pressed hard. The Colossus blasted another cruiser with its pulse cannon. Haddad's drones swarmed to cut off escape routes. "Hold the line! This is our fight!" Castillo roared. The alien fleet broke apart, scattering into the darkness. The humans stood victorious, battered but unbroken. On the command deck of the Leviathan, the crew erupted in cheers. Faces once pale with fear now shone with fierce pride. Castillo's gaze never wavered from the shrinking enemy. "We turned scrap into death. We turned fear into fire. And this is only the beginning." Haddad grinned, voice full of raw exhilaration. "They thought we were weak. They thought we'd fall easy. They never reckoned with human stubbornness. The battle was won, but the war was far from over." Above the wreckage field, the scrap titans stood like giants born from the ashes of defeat. Humanity had turned the tide, and the galaxy would never forget. With the enemy faltering, Colonel Castillo and Captain Haddad knew this was their moment to strike, turning the tide into a hard-won victory that no one expected. The scrap titans thundered forward, their patched armor plates shining under the cold stars. Welded steel and alien alloys creaked and groaned as massive turrets swung into position. The drone swarms zipped like angry hornets, buzzing through the enemy ranks. "Now!" Castillo's voice crackled over the comms. "Push them back! Show them what scrap can do!" The Sarkhan cruisers staggered under the relentless barrage. Electromagnetic pulses from the Colossus sent shockwaves through their systems, frying circuits and darkening their weapon arrays. The Xylan dreadnoughts tried to rally, but their formations faltered. "Captain Haddad, your drones in position?" Castillo asked, eyes locked on the battlefield display. "Swarm is live and hunting," Haddad replied, her voice steady but fierce. "They're tearing through enemy shields and jamming their sensors. The Xylan can't react fast enough." Explosions blossomed like deadly fireworks. One by one, alien ships lost power and drifted helpless. The Vortex Reaver itself shuddered as hits landed on its hull, forcing its commander to order a retreat. The alien fleet limped away, battered and broken, their confidence shattered. Castillo didn't lower his guard. "Focus on their rear guard. Don't let them regroup." The scrap titans surged forward, relentless as a human storm. Here, in the forgotten junkyard of debris and ruin, humanity had forged something stronger than new ships and glowing tech. They had forged resolve, ingenuity. Captain Haddad's voice came through, breathless but victorious. "They're pulling back, Colonel. The Sarkhan and Xylan will think twice before coming back here." The command bridge shook as distant explosions marked enemy withdrawals. Crew members exchanged tired smiles. The Leviathan had survived. The Guardian and Colossus were battered but alive. Castillo stood tall, wiping sweat from his brow. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly. Leela Haddad leaned forward, eyes fierce. "They saw our scrap weapons. They saw our drone swarms. Next time, they'll bring more ships. We have to be ready." "We will be," Castillo replied. "Every piece of scrap, every broken hull." "Well, turn them all into weapons. Let them learn never to underestimate humanity again." In the distance, a massive scrap titan, a hulking war machine built from half a dozen derelict ships, stood guard. Its heavy guns scanned the starfield as the first light of a distant sun touched the metal wreckage. Olumide Adebayo's voice came through, calm but resolute. "We've bought time, but the war's far from over. The galaxy is watching now." Castillo nodded. "Then let them watch. Let them see what happens when humans fight with everything they've got." Outside the command deck viewport, alien scouts lingered at the edge of the junkyard. Their sleek ships, once so confident, now jittered nervously in the cold void. "They'll think twice before coming back," Haddad said. Castillo's gaze hardened. "They should, because we don't just survive, we hunt, we innovate, we fight dirty, and we fight hard." He turned to his commanders. "Prepare the fleet. Build more scrap titans. Prepare the fleet. Build more scrap titans. Train the crews. This victory isn't the end god and mained. It's the spark." The command bridge lights dimmed as the human fleet powered up for repairs and refits. Outside, the wreckage field, their battlefield, was quiet but alive. Each twisted hull and battered wreck was a testament to human will. "We came into this fight outgunned and surrounded," Castillo said, voice low and steady. "They expected easy prey. Instead, they found predators." The stars outside the junkyard gleamed cold and distant, but inside, in the heart of human ingenuity, a new war machine was rising. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and that mistake was about to cost them dearly.